now, the Amazon rainforest is being consumed by fire. In fact, there's an 80% increase in fires just over the last year alone. And this comes, of course, after the hottest July our planet has ever seen. I want you to take a look at these pictures showing the smoke from space. These are images from high above covering huge parts of South America. Now, this isn't an act of God. It's farmers and ranchers intentionally destroying the land for more development. The Amazon basin is, of course, known as the lungs of the world. It provides 20% of the oxygen for the entire planet. But Brazil's new right-wing leader, Jair Bolsonaro, is not bothered by the destruction. In fact, he's mocking environmentalists who warn of the long-term damage that will make the climate crisis even worse. So Shasta Darlington joins us now from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Shasta, great to see you. Really good to have you from Brazil. I mean, Sao Paulo is also feeling the effects, the choking effects of these raging wildfires. Just give us some sense of how this is playing out where you are.
Oh, that's right, Robin. I mean, first of all, you do get the real back and forth, this very heated rhetoric about who's to blame. But the fact is that these fires are ravaging the Amazon, and yet the effects are actually being felt very far from home.
Brazil's largest city plunged into darkness, black clouds filling the sky, blanketing Sao Paulo Monday afternoon, thick smoke billowing from more than 2,700 kilometers away, where fires are consuming the world's largest rainforest. The Amazon basin is burning at a record rate, according to Brazil's research center. More than 72,000 fires have scorched the country this year, an over 80% increase compared to the same period in 2018. Flames destroying 1.5 football fields of rainforest every minute of every day. Smoke spreading across nearly half of Brazil, visible from space more than a week ago, even spilling into neighboring Peru, Bolivia, and Paraguay. Now the haze stretches across South America, spreading along the East Atlantic coast. Though fires are common here in Brazil's dry season, climate scientists say this is far from the norm. Instead, environmentalists point to land raised at unprecedented levels as a new government encourages industry to develop the Amazon region. Brazil's right-wing president has brushed off environmental concerns as he vows to open the rainforest to business interests. Since he took office in January, rates of deforestation have soared, as Jair Bolsonaro remains indignant to international criticism. Take your money and reforest Germany. Bolsonaro bristled at Germany and Norway's decision to suspend funding to Brazil. Now, as attention turns to wildfires surging at unprecedented rates, Bolsonaro is deflecting blame. Without evidence, he points to non-governmental organizations.
Regarding the fires in the Amazon, I am under the impression that it could have been set by the NGOs because they had asked for money. What was their intention? To bring about problems for Brazil?
Home to hundreds of indigenous tribes, the Amazon rainforest is rich in wildlife and natural resources. Often called the lungs of the earth, the rainforest supplies 20% of the world's oxygen. If it burns to a point of no return, environmentalists warn it could turn into a dry savanna and begin emitting carbon instead, plunging the planet ever deeper into a climate change crisis.
And well, that might not be imminent, Robin, but the fact that we're seeing this really flippant response from Bolsonaro and his administration, who claim that NGOs are often fronts for foreign governments trying to take control of the Amazon, there's a very real question about whether or not they're addressing the cause of these fires and, of course, the long-term impact, Robin.
Yeah, and this is not a domestic issue. I mean, this impacts the globe, all of us. It's about 20% of the planet's oxygen. So we all have a stake in what is happening there on the ground.
Maybe a recession, that those odds have risen. What do you see?
Well, I tell you what, I sure don't see a recession.
And what I can tell you with certainty is that we're going to have a strong economy through 2020 and beyond with a bull market.
Let's not be afraid of some optimism.
You actually said that in 2007, right before the second worst downturn in American history. I admire your optimism, but the data is pointing in another direction.
Well, I plead guilty to that late 2007 forecast.
Are you worried about a recession?
I'm concerned because I think NAFTA 2.0 is a disaster.
I'm afraid that this president is driving the global economy and our economy into recession.
There's a big debate going on right now over whether we're on the cusp of a recession. I think we probably are, but the more important thing is even during an expansion, most Americans haven't been able to get ahead.
A study from researcher at Harvard, the University of Chicago, the IMF, and the Federal Reserve Bank in Boston in May found that U.S. importers are shouldering about 95% of the price change from the tariffs, and China is shouldering only 5%.
See, that dog won't hunt. Let's do some math here, right? You put on 10% tariffs on $200 billion.
Are you saying that their research is wrong?
Hang on. Just do some math with me. $200 billion, we put on a 10% tariff, and China devalues their currency by 12%. Okay? Are consumers bearing anything on that? No.
Consumers are working, the wages are rising, they're spending, and they're saving. A lot of Wall Street firms looked at the numbers last week, and they raised their forecast. So no, there is no recession in sight.
The fake news, of which many of you are members, is trying to convince the public to have a recession. Let's have a recession. The United States is doing phenomenally well. But one thing I have to do is economically take on China, because China has been ripping us off for many years. President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama and others should have done this long before me. My life would be much easier, although I enjoy doing it, but my life would be much easier if I just said, let China continue to rip off the United States, all right? It'd be much easier, but I can't do that. We are winning against China. They've lost 2.5 million jobs in a very short period of time. They want to make a deal. It's got to be a deal that's good for the United States. Where they want to make a deal, probably we will make a deal. But if I didn't do that, and I'm not doing this, somebody said it's Trump's trade war. This isn't my trade war. This is a trade war that should have taken place a long time ago by a lot of other presidents. Over the last 5 or 6 years, China's made $500 billion. $500 billion. Ripped it out of the United States. And not only that, if you take a look, intellectual property theft, add that to it, and add a lot of other things to it. So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry. I was put here by people to do a great job. And that's what I'm doing.